What is an if statement? Well, you can check things, right? If I like backslashes, print a bunch of backslashes. That's one way you could do it, but that's not exactly what we're looking at. But you kind of get the idea. An if statement is something that you encounter all the time, right? If I'm hungry, I go eat something. If I'm tired, I go to sleep. If it's dark, I turn on the lights. You get the idea, right? So what we want to do is look at how we can apply that to our program. How can we check some things, check to see if this is less or larger, or whatever the case may be, to make something happen in our program. So an if statement, it's a block of code that's attached or associated with a condition, right? So if the condition is true, it executes the block of code. If the condition is false, it doesn't execute the code. So in this example, we'll kind of break the syntax down a little bit. If my condition that I put in the blank that I've got on the example for you, if that's true, do something 1 and do something 2 are going to happen. If the condition fails, it's going to jump down right after the close brace, and it's not going to execute any of the stuff inside the braces. So when you have an if statement, you have a condition associated with that if statement. And the condition is a Boolean condition, meaning it evaluates to true or false. You can have a condition that's true or false. You can make variables that are Boolean that can be evaluated as true or false. You can assign them the values true or the values false. So Boolean just means true or false, whether it's condition or variable or whatever it is. So part of what we're going to do with if statements is we're going to be checking, we're going to see how one thing relates to another. So you're going to have some relational operators to make this happen, right? So you've got equal equals, which is equality. You got greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and then the last one, which is not equal. So you got to be familiar with these so that we can apply them to the if statement conditions and check to see if how one thing relates to another thing. Here's some examples. A plus greater than 900, A plus less than or equal to 50, and then check to see if num is either equal to 75 or not equal to other num. And we're going to put these types of conditions inside of if statements. So here I've made a variable, an integer variable, A plus. I set it to 109. I have an if statement that checks to see if A plus is less than 100. If it is less than 100, it prints out A plus is less than 100. So this one's not going to print anything. So it's going to go through, it's going to check the condition, the checked condition is going to fail, and then there's no output. This one we're doing the same thing, except now we're checking greater than 100, so it's going to print out A plus is greater than 100 because 109 is greater than 100. We wanted to get real tricky. We could go into that string right there, and we could put a bunch of backslashes in front of that A plus or after it. Then we'd really be having fun, but we're not quite ready for that kind of fun just yet. Here we got some more examples. This time we're checking equality on the UIL score. If you do UIL contest, 240s is the best you can get on the written parts. That's why I added that in there in your state champ if you get that. Just kind of some fun stuff to look at. And then we have if UIL scores less than 100, you got to do some work because that would not be a very good score. So that's just a couple more examples. So here we're using Boolean conditions with Boolean variables. So we're just adding a little more to it. If you have a Boolean variable, it's going to be true or false, and I'm just evaluating that with my conditions inside of the if statements. So let's go out and take a look at this in some code so we can put it into action. Let's look at a couple program examples, some Java code, so we can make sure we totally understand how all this works. So in this example, I took the UIL score example that we had in the slides, and I messed around with it just a little bit, and we're going to do the same thing a couple different ways to make sure that it all makes sense. So here I've got UIL score set to 40. My first condition says if UIL score is greater than 100, print well done. My second condition says if UIL score is less than 100, print work harder. So let's go ahead and give this thing a run. And it says work harder because it's not greater than 100, but it is less than 100. So the key with this is either if statement could be true, they could both be true, they could both be false. So with an if and two standalone if statements, they could both execute. That is a possibility. So let's change this up just a little bit. And let's change this to 140. And let's say if it's greater than 100, and let's change this one down here to greater than 50. So now there's the possibility, depending on the value of UIL score, that they could both execute, right? So now 140 is greater than 100. It's also greater than 50. It executes both. So I could change it to, let's say, 70. And now if I run it with 70, now it only executes the second one because the first one failed. So it depends on the value and depends on how we set it up. It could very well execute both, one or the other, or neither, depending on the situation, right? So let's change this to greater than or equal to. Let's change this to greater than or equal to, just because we wanted to be able to do that and see what happens, right? And we run it again, nothing changes. So let's change this to 100. Okay, if this is 100 and we take the equal off on this first if statement and we run it again, it's not going to do anything. It's going to fail. Now if we put an equal in here and we run it again, now it's going to execute as true. Now the condition is going to evaluate to true because we added the equal on there. So we got greater than and equal to, greater or less than or equal to. We've got a couple different forms of this. We also have not equal to. So as long as it's not equal to 50, it's going to run the code. So let's run it through with 100 so we can see what that does, right? So now it's going to execute both because it's greater than or equal to 100. It's not equal to 50. Let's change our variable to 50. Let's run it again. And now it doesn't do anything because it's not greater than or equal to 100 and it's not 50, so it doesn't print anything at all. So anyway, that gives you a lot of different variants on an if statement, right? But the main thing to remember is if you got multiple if statements, they could all be true, they could all be false, or one or the other could be true. So when we get to the if else, it's a little bit different than what it is here, but so this is just kind of a starting point. So let's go look at the other one. The other one we have is just an example of making a Boolean variable and checking it to see if it's true or false. Nothing real sophisticated here, but it's just something you need to know. You can put Boolean variables in your programs and you can put them in if statements. It works exactly like what we were just looking at, except instead of checking to see if it's bigger than a number or less than a number, we're just checking for a true or false evaluation. The next two examples, they're not if statement examples. They're just a couple utility methods that you'll find useful. And I think we talked about these in the string unit, but I'm just bringing them back again because you'll find them useful in some of the labs that we're going to be working on. So parcent. Parcent converts a string into an integer. That's what it does. It takes a string value, turns it into the primitive integer value that you can now use in expressions and math calculations, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Parse double, a little bit more sophisticated than parcent because it can handle decimals. So right now, if you've got decimals in your strings, if it's an actual double value, parse double is the way to go. So these two methods, you're not going to use them all the time, but you need to know they're there because they do come in handy. Hopefully you found this discussion of if statements entertaining. We really didn't get into backslashes. That's just a joke that I've been kind of carrying along through the videos, if you haven't picked up on that yet. But anyway, you should now know how to use an if statement in your program, know how to use relational operators, and then I threw in a couple utility methods for converting strings and doubles into their primitive values.